ask that Mr. Joseph Shoneman and his son approach the microphone. And I'd like to we have a proclamation here I'd like to read. How are you tonight?
Well,
Good. Okay, whereas the city of Chicago Heights is pleased to recognize one of its most esteemed residents and respected businessmen, Mr. Joseph Shoneman, who owned and operated the original Shane's, the pawn shop, since 1955. And whereas Joseph Z. Shoneman was born on May 29, 1918 in Chicago, Illinois. And whereas after returning from service in the Army Air Force in Italy during World War II, Mr. Shoneman settled in the south side of Chicago and established an installment business which taught him the value of both time and money. And whereas from 1955 to 1957, the original Shane's, the pawn shop, was located at 283 East 14th Street, 14th in Portland, which housed Cipriani's Pizzas before opening a restaurant on Halsted Street. Just inside the front door was a wooden trough where they rolled out the pizza dough. In the summertime heat, the pawn shop smelled like tomato sauce. And whereas from 1957 to 1960, Joseph and his uncle moved Shane's to its new location next to Highway Sundries at 335 East 14th Street, which is 14th and Wentworth, in Chicago Heights. This was the store where David Shoneman began his formal training, working for $1 a day, though some might say he was overpaid. And whereas from 1960 to 1968, Shane's operated at 1607 South Halsted Street in Chicago Heights. In 1968, the store was destroyed by a fire and ended their operation. In 1970, Shane's reopened at 1519 South Halsted Street, and the business continued to thrive, offering Chicago Heights citizens excellent values in diamonds, previously owned jewelry, consumer goods, and small collateral loans. In 1982, Joe retired and Shane's closed its doors. And whereas in 1989, David and Carmenchetta Shoneman reopened Shane's and have successfully operated the business to this very day. David serves as president of the Illinois Pawnbrokers Association, and the business continues to offer the residents of Chicago Heights and its neighborhood communities top quality financial and jewelry services. The business has become a jewelry-only pawn shop and has been proactive in protecting the citizens' welfare. Whereas it was the concern in mind that on February 15, 2011, the Chicago Heights City Council voted to approve ordinance number 2011-02, amending the regulating, transfer, or conveyance of precious metals and gems with newly created sections 31-80 through and including section 31-90 to be entitled Precious Metal and Gem Brokers. Now therefore, I, Vincent Zerani, Mayor of the great city of Chicago Heights, in the township of Bloom, in the county of Cook, and in the state of Illinois, do hereby proclaim that in honor of Joseph J. Shoneman's long commitment to the city ordinance number 2011-02 is to be renamed and forever known hereafter as the Joseph Z. Shoneman Precious Metal and Gem Brokers Ordinance.
hey!
Mr. Shoneman, thank you so much for all you've done for us. Okay, congratulations. Your son's doing a good job.
Your name goes back decades
Thank you.
from the old Chicago Heights.
Thank you.
Big town.
Thank you very much. Here, this is for you.
Oh. I'm deserving of this pawn.
Yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are. Thank you again.
David, turn. Yeah, there you go.
Mr. Shoneman, if you'd like to pawn that, I'm sure David.